Why don't we call the meeting to order? 8:07.
And it is June 22nd. So when we left on Friday, we had agreed that we would think about this, our job as being a update versus a rewrite. And I think as I was looking at sections 1 through 14A of our original charter, and then looking at the proposed charter to do some cross-referencing, I personally could very easily see that we have two really different approaches in front of us. So looking at it as an update versus a rewrite is something I think as a collectively we need to decide on.
Yeah, that's my take. You guys?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, everybody's.
I think it depends if you want to keep the historical document or if you want to bring a charter document. More for amending the current charter than starting right from scratch.
Right.
I think everybody's there, right?
Mm-hmm. As far as amendment versus start something from scratch, yeah, I think an amendment process is better.
Dan, I look at you as more of our historian.
So I guess I can just say, as a historian,
Can you speak up a little?
yes, I'll try.
Thanks, I'm sorry.
As a historian, I think that the original charter is a very compelling document. It reflects the values of our city when it was founded or when it was consolidated into what we now know as Newport. And there's a lot in it that reflects the backdrop of the time, things like prohibition, things that were on the forefront of everybody's mind at that time. But it is also the history of our city and the values that many of those carry into today. So I do think that it is, because of its age, I think an update is a good idea. Because what we want is a document that reflects, I think, at least this is my personal opinion, we want a document that reflects our history and who we are historically, but also that reflects our moral values, the values that we hold today, which are a lot different. I don't think, and I could be wrong, that we really want to be sentencing people to hard labor for any attractions, as an example. So I think the original charter will always exist in the historical archives. And the city has a historical society. The city also has city records. I think that the updated charter can certainly reflect the original charter. I don't think we need to start from scratch like the charter proposal did. But, you know, I would just personally say that like certain updates to the language are very necessary.
Right. Perfect. Yeah, I agree.
So my comment on the whole thing after, studying, I've got lots of notes here. But,
Yeah.
it was very hard, like Mike had asked at the last meeting, can we put them up side by side? I think as you're reviewing them now, you realize that's impossible. Right? So, but there, on the other hand, there is some really good language in the rewrite. So, in some of the, really have to. What is that?
Street back here. Exactly, not here. Thank you, Anne.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. So so we don't have to reinvent the wheel here on some of these things. So I looked at it, looking at the document and then looking at what might have been used to compare if it was. Some things were eliminated, some were added, and some of the wording is great.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's how we're going to go.
Well, a question I had as I was looking back and forth between the two, the original and the proposed, when I say two, is how it was rearranged in the proposed. So some of the same article or same chapters were in the proposed, but just rearranged. So I can see some value in that to make it flow easier. But do we do that, or do we stay with the originals? How do we handle that? How do we tackle that?
From my perspective, if we're talking about city council, then everything doing with the city council should be in one. If you're talking about water and sewer, it shouldn't be in three different places. It should be in one place. So I think once we get the items done, we may want to reorder them. I mean, that's just,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that first, I think going section by section, like
Yeah.
the originally proposed makes sense, but then at the end of it, if we could do some cleanup and say, we're not, necessarily like deleting anything, but we're making it more easy as a reference document, which I think we have to understand that the charter is a reference document too. We're referring to the, the statutes of the city.
so, well, why don't we, have questions?
No, it's just, no.
No, I think it makes sense to think about rearranging sections so that it does flow.
Just a comment.
Right.
And looking at one of the reasons in my mind that it failed last time was you also have to think about how it's going to look when you try for an amendment. So when they tried for an amendment of the whole thing, this little piece right here was all the citizens saw. They saw the titles to the subject, and that was it. And then they were referred, the voters were referred to copies of the original charter and to the other. Now, if you were a regular citizen going in to vote with very little time beforehand, and certainly not having attended meetings or watched them, this is what you saw. You were asked to vote for a series of titles. So, shall the voters approve the amendment containing the following sections? And they wrote down all the 10 subsections. Now, would you vote for something? The last subchapter was general provisions. Well, what's general provisions to a voter?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, we'll keep all that in mind when we get it. Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, so it is much easier to think about doing it the other way that the state statute suggests, and is the way that we've always done amendments, which is to take your subsection, get rid of the words you want to get rid of by just putting little crosses, a little line through them, a faint line, and putting in your new language. But that means that you're going through each one individually, and you might not want to do all 40 subsections. You might want to live with some of the historical, not the parts that we consider horrible.
And we may do that, so we can't continue that. If we never get started, we're never gonna
Okay,
get
fine.
started.
Okay,
So I think we agree. Everybody wants to go item by item. So we'll try that. If it doesn't work, then we'll switch to the.
well, I think we'll do a good cross-reference between the two too, when we get there. Okay, so should we just, since we've all reviewed 1 through 14A, should we just start with 1 and have a conversation and see what stays and what we propose?
Yep.
Perfect. So let's start with, I'm referencing the Vermont statutes from the online, Title 24, Appendix Municipal Charters. Ours is Chapter 7 for the city of Newport. So this is where we will begin. So looking at section number 1, establishment of the city. Thoughts? This is very historic. When I looked at it, to me, when you cross-referenced it with the proposal, I think looking at section 101 of the proposal has some of the same information.
So Yeah, I mean, my question is out of the territory, existing town lines, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if we really need all that. But we can. I mean, that explains how this was established. The 101 and the proposal was very good, I think. So maybe.
I
don't
think
know,
it's excellent.
Huh?
I think it's excellent.
So do I.
It's a good
So-
introduction to our city.
Kind of where my note was here, refer to proposed charter 101. And whether we keep, here's the thing, do we keep the old stuff and then at the end just put in this section, or do we just go with sections?
Well, I think what 101 is referencing this number
Section.
one.
Yeah.
The establishment. So I don't know that you want to include that. You either want to keep this language or amend the language or just leave it alone. But I don't think it, by using the language that they have in 101, you're just referencing what section 1 is and what it says in the statutes.
So just leave it alone. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, if that's what you want to do, I mean, you can either replace it with the language of 101 or you can keep the historical language so that it continues to be, I mean, it's never going to go away, but it continues to follow the charter as it moves forward.
I think the only point of 101 being in the new charter and existing in the wording that it is because this was such a radical departure from this. It's basically a brand new style and document for the city charter. I think it's saying, hey, nothing's changing. We are still this incorporated entity in Vermont. Let's start off with that point. If we're just amending the old one, I don't see any reason to have that new language. It is brief, but it's brief because it's saying nothing's changed. We're still incorporated. We're just moving forward with a new set of rules. I think just leaving one alone and moving forward is fine.
And unless you have to have citizens review, and if it doesn't matter that much, why would you have them reconsider that whole thing and decide if it's good or not, or changed or not?
I think their thing is none of this existed. The villages, Newport and West Derby, and West Derby doesn't even.
There's no such place anymore.
Shall assume and have all the same at the end. It says respectively shall at once be transferred and belong to the city of Newport. Well, this was establishing Newport. But it doesn't, and it says shall assume all, the city of Newport shall assume all duties, rights, and debts of the said villages in Newport and West Derby respectively. And, I mean, I don't care. It's to me, this is, you can leave it the way it is. 101 up here is a little more 21st century, but I don't know if it matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things is I had to say, where in the world was West Derby? I've never ever heard of West Derby. Where was West Derby? I don't know.
It was East Main Street, primarily.
Oh,
So,
Yeah.
yeah, anything. you-
That was West Derby?
Yeah.
That's where I live.
West Derby came all the way down to the bridge.
Mhm.
Really?
Everything on that side of the river was West.
So we
Derby.
just had to explain all that.
Yeah, but look, if you go to 101, what you do to people, you think they have to know as constituted by 1917 acts and resolves number 273, which they haven't got a clue of. I have no clue what those say unless I go look, and as amended, so I've got to know what
All right,
it
we
looks
just-
like as amended.
Just leave it.
But I would think.
I don't think there's a lot of value in changing it. It will pretty much say the same thing. I don't think that there's a lot of like legal difference. You know, I think it's a nice little bit of historical trip.
And the voters will have a certain amount of bandwidth to process changes. Right?
Okay, so is everybody
The state
good
gonna,
with keeping the one?
the state gonna be fine with that? We don't need to be up to date with.
And I think, and so as we progress along and with your permission, I can't, I can have conversations with our legislative council that deals with charters.
Mhm.
I can't specifically for Newport, but if there's questions of
Generic question.
generic questions, then I can use that as a resource as well.
If you look at some of the other charts of like.
So we're gonna strike 101.
They're a blend.
On
They're a
this sheet.
blend.
Well,
What-
yeah, we're just gonna keep.
Right.
We're just
We're
gonna
gonna
keep
strike
this.
this.
So we're gonna keep the original
Mhm.
and we're going to put an X on that. Okay. Section 2 of our charter.
So transition provisions relating to the governments of the towns of Newport and every city of Newport and the process for accepting the charter and all that.
Yeah, well, I have a question here. What does this mean?
It's, so this is, that section that was there had in it, like, what's going to happen over the next few weeks, months, year, while those two distinct West Derby and Newport were forming, like, what are we going? I wasn't there, obviously, but what are we gonna do with the fire department? What are we gonna do with the water? What's gonna happen during this transitional period? And how are the citizens going to accept the new charter? Because at the time when they wrote it, of course, it wasn't accepted. And once it was accepted and that transitional period's over, I think that's why it was written out.
Do we
because
need
it's
it?
no longer valid.
I don't,
So we don't need it.
it's very specific to what was
Yeah.
happening in 1918. It's all about specifically the year 1918.
Well, that's what I said. So,
So we
yeah,
can, we
it
can.
doesn't,
eliminate it.
it's just, okay.
Well, I think it was the product of a revision after 1917. And I think because, they didn't change section 3 into section 2, right? Because it's still section 3 as it was, written into law, right?
Mhm.
And so they had to put something there to reference why section 2 was gone. I think I think legally you would have to leave it because you're not going to make section 3 now section 2 if you're doing a revision. It will stay 3.
I think, because if we're gonna reorganize it, that's a conversation for another time, but I do think we can eliminate it.
So that section is finite. It was just to establish the governance for Newport City, Newport Town, and Town of Dirt. And so once that transition period was over, then it becomes
No,
automatic.
no.
Right.
Is
So
that,
generally, what would go in there would be section 2, would just say delete. But I don't know if that's the way they do charters or not, and that's a question I can ask.
Well, I actually think there's an example of that in the current charter of something that's been deleted. Let me see if I can find it.
while she's looking, Mike, could that also be why there's brackets around that?
Yeah.
Because from doing the bylaws at our credit union, those things make a huge difference. Brackets, bolding, italics, and lines
Mhm.
striking through, they're huge.
And that's a good point. I think what we're looking at here is possibly, if I were an attorney, I could tell you, does it have to stay or not? Can you change number 3 into number 2? Is there some legal framework that prevents you from doing that? And I think that's why it's there.
Yeah, the question I think in my mind would be, is it regarded as an amendment if you removed it? So in other words, is that what the current one is? And then if you removed it, it would be regarded as an amendment. And maybe you don't want to go there because what's the difference if that's there or not? It doesn't matter.
So number 3, if we change nothing about number 3, but we changed it to number 2, I think that just even the number constitutes an amendment.
Yes.
And we have to put in languages formally section 2 of, why would it change? Why if you reference section 3, this section.
Okay, so that's a good question for Mike to see.
Yeah.
If you could ask that to your constituent.
If you refer to section 719, overseer of the port, this is.
Can you speak louder?
Section 719, overseer
Of the
of the
new-
port, of the original.
Of the other.
The original charter. This is an example of a section that's been deleted. So in this case, I think you leave it, but say it's been deleted, they say this section originally enacted as section 19, blah, 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 established the office of overseer of the port, which the General Assembly abolished in every municipality as of October 1960, October 1st, 1968, so on and so on. This section has been deleted.
It's section 19 in the copy I have.
Well, they're all sections that have been making mistakes. Section,
Gotcha. Okay.
so section 19,
Oh, right here. Oh,
These have probably been deleted, but in order for people to understand what, because this is what's in statute. So when you're reading your green books, they're just explaining why section 2 isn't relevant anymore, why section 19 isn't
that's why the
relevant.
brackets are there.
That's probably what the bracket is.
Yeah, so just leave it alone for
I
now.
think so.
Putting it okay. Number 3. Well, this was pretty historic. And many of these places don't even exist anymore.
I have a suggestion on this, for the same thing. So we could keep all of this and just add a section at the end. So just my suggestion there. For current reference, we now use, I don't know exactly how to word it, but the GSI boundary maps. So just add a section referring to the GSI, is that the state of Vermont? It's
GSI is federal.
Mike, you last week said the state uses
GSI.
GIS.
I got it matched. I'm just
And what does that stand for? Anyone know?
geo something or other.
I mean, I can look it up. I'll look it up.
Geographic something survey.
Here's my to-do list.
So what that does, just to give you an idea. It does this, there's a map of Newport. Yeah. If you get on it, so here we go. It's, so you can put a map in there, but it's so this is that thing, and it references the whole thing. But if you pull it up, if you pull the GIS thing up, it'll give you all kinds of mapping, all kinds of stuff. So it's already done, but it's accurate, and it's not, poor Farm Road, which doesn't exist anymore. But Joe Bean's corner of Joe Bean's garden.
Yeah.
I mean, so I mean, we could keep the old language again, so you're not changing, and just say,
That's fine.
as of this charter amendment, we refer to the Vermont GSI or GIS. Just put a one sentence.
I'm actually in favor of changing this one. I think that if we're going to ask for an amendment, if we agree that an amendment needs to be made, that kind of gives us carte blanche on that one to just make a change, because it's something that
It's so wordy.
well, and
It's a page and a half.
Historical point, I love this. This is so rich, but it is so out of date. It doesn't, it's not useful except for as a historical reference. So I do think we could get rid of it and just say that going forward, we're going to rely on the federal GIS boundaries.
Now, can we somehow be a little more specific than that? I don't know if we, as of right now, as we sit here, I don't see the boundaries of Newport changing. In 100 years, is that going to be the same?
I would think so.
That it's going to stay the same?
Mhm.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, it has changed a lot in the last 100 years.
You know that, yeah.
So,
But that's when we incorporated West Derby. I don't foresee that we're gonna take over Coventry or anything like that.
Well, no, but I do think like, so in the 1930s, there was a time not too long ago, within the last 100 years, that Newport, I might be getting this wrong, I'm still crash coursing on the history of this
Well,
area.
you're doing well. You haven't been here very long.
But, for Center, I believe, unincorporated and then reincorporated into the town of Newport town. And that happened, the reincorporation, I believe, happened in the 30s, I believe 1934. So I think when you have very small communities with small populations, even today, I think there can be ebbs of population that do justify reconsolidations and things. So I do think that's something that could potentially change in the I wouldn't say it's out of there in the property. That's just my take, looking at it from a historical standpoint.
But from my research, it seems that the GIS data is used by towns quite often. The legal framework that would govern where the boundaries in the city are actually in the charter, established historical maps, even in court cases that are litigated where those boundaries are, and survey information. It's actually not. They reference the GIS, and it's part of a lot of new charters, but it's not actually the legal framework of how that's established. I think this is, from a legality standpoint, they would look at this, they would go back to the maps from that era and try to find out historically where those boundaries are. GIS is more of a representation of that we can access quickly. I'm not opposed to putting something in to reference it, but I don't know that I would say that what the GIS has on file establishes the boundaries. This is actually, from the legal standpoint, this charter and all this wording is clunky and 1918 as it is what establishes the legal boundaries of the city.
And I think the second part,
I still think we leave it because that's where the boundaries were. And then you just add for
Current reference.
current reference, the city of Newport uses the Vermont GIS maps.
So we gotta think about, we gotta figure out.
But just be a one-line sentence, and I don't know exactly how to word it. And then we keep talking, because if you do look it up, even the GIS says it may not be, there's a disclaimer that pops up that basically says they may not be exactly accurate. So if we keep this and just say, however, the city of Newport or whatever currently uses the Vermont GIS mapping as our guide or something. It could be a one sentence thing.
Morning, may I add a comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to agree with what Travis said. I think it was Travis. Because this is the historical piece of the founding of Newport and the boundaries of Newport at the time, I definitely think it needs to stay in there just for historical reference. And don't forget that if at any point in the future some decision is we decide to annex, Newport town or whatever, the fact is all that has to go through the legislature anyway. And at that point, I don't know that we'd have to make a change to the charter. But the reference that this is the historical part of how Newport was founded, I think it's important to leave it in there for that reference. If you want to add a line that says, just an extra line in there, like you guys have been saying, something about the GIS for current state, but definitely needs to say for historical reference. And I don't know that it needs to any changes at all, because it's any changes to the boundaries in the future have to go through the legislature, and that would mean possibly even having to change the charter again to add the new boundaries. Just a thought.
Thank you. So on section 3, are we in agreement then? I mean, I don't think this is a huge one, so we'll keep it as it is.
And consider that one line addendum.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could look up the exact reference and how it should be phrased and that's where we're putting everything together.
I think you want to be careful what every right in there is an amendment or you're amending.
That would
Because
be,
you want to make sure that, I mean, these are legal references that at the time were legal references. And if the GIS is not considered a legal reference,
Yeah.
you might not want that in there.
How are we to look at that map and be absolutely certain that it does reflect
yeah,
all of this? We're putting a lot of faith in it. Like it itself has a disclaimer.
so when we started this section, Mike, you said that this might be a generic question, you could reach out and see how.
Yeah, I can just ask legislative council how I'm looking at charters, old charters, on their boundaries and how that, do they update them or just leave them? Because I think like Travis said, there's court cases, if there's been disputes with either other communities or there's property disputes of where the city boundaries are. So I think there's probably enough court cases there.
Yeah, so,
So if we put the GIS phrase in there, we're actually making that illegal.
Well, I don't-
And it's already said that it might not be
Right.
accurate, even when it's.
Yeah.
So maybe we just.
Yeah.
maybe we just-
All right. Okay, so I'm gonna put a star next to number 3 here. And Wednesday or next week when we meet, we'll see what Mike comes back with and we can go from there. Are we all okay with that? Are you okay with that? So let's move on to number 4. Voter qualifications. So this was one, to be honest, that I thought, oh, there, this got kind of all over the place.
Well, when I was specifically looking for clarification on this, when I looked at Charlie's, and even in that, when I thought what that had in it was the old charter of Derby and the old charter of, I guess, Newport, when Newport Center was included, because it's referencing something that we don't have.
What it references is the statutes on town meetings, qualifications of a voter in the town meeting,
That's
the state statute.
Okay.
Now, even right now, that moves forward, so any changes that have been made in the statutes from 1917 to now, this is what the charter says you follow.
So should we reference that statute?
Yeah.
So people know where to look?
So the qualifications of a voter in city meetings shall be
Yeah,
the
but-
same as are required of voters in town meetings.
So here's where I start having a problem. If we start referencing statutes, then that means anybody reading the charter has to look at it. So if we reference the charter, the statute, that's okay with me, but we ought to spell it out. So there's a very little section that you can print out. Says, any person may register to vote who on election day is a citizen of the United States, is a resident of the state of Vermont, and the city or town in which you are adding, because this is kind of generic, the city or town, has taken or has previously taken the voter's oath and is 18 years of age or more. Any person meeting requirements above will be 18 on or before the date of the general election may register. This is taken from 17 VSA 2121.
So
So you could do something
agree.
like that.
I agree, but the second you take that in its entirety and you put it in here, if the state statute changes, we have to change the charter.
Not unless it's the law, because our statutes can vary from state to statute. it's something you can't be against the law.
But I think the state, yeah, but if the state changed it in such a way that ours did come in conflict with it, then we
Can you
have
speak
to-
up louder?
If the state changed the statute so that this statute was in conflict, well, then we would need to.
I don't believe that's true.
What if,
So
what
you might
if,
want to check. If they make it a law, then you have to update.
right, but if,
But
so,
if they
so if
just
we
change
change
the
the law,
statute, that's
well,
not a
well,
law.
that's changed, yeah, it is. Statute is a law. That, so if the legislature decided that now we're gonna allow 16-year-olds to vote in all town and city elections, that became law.
If it's a law.
That what, so it goes in the green books, which means it's a statute. Then you would have to then go back and change your charter. So it follows.
So I've read in about 30 different places that your charter, the state subsedes is over, state statutes and wasn't the law.
Right.
So I've read that in about 20 different.
Unless it conflicts with civil rights, and if they drop the age to 16,
But if that's, they make a law, not just change the statute.
well, but it's statutory law, right? I mean, it's,
Well,
it's
if
the
it's a
laws of
law,
Vermont.
if it's a law, then yes. I don't believe, we're gonna run into that in a couple other places, too, like,
I don't disagree with you, and I think I have a fix, depending on how you felt about it. I think the reference is good because in cases like he just mentioned, especially that one is a great example because what it does is make us impeding the civil rights, the voting rights of now people from age 16 to 18. And that would get taken to court. We would have to amend the statute to let the 16-year-old set, right? If the state said that was appropriate. And so if we put that in there, we have to change and we have to do this process again, even though it's an easy change. However, we can have an appendix that isn't part of the charter for citizens to reference. So we have all these sections spelled out on, can reference those things and not have to go somewhere else and look something up. But it isn't officially part of the charter. So we can just say, reference this law. If it changed, we just change our appendix, which isn't part of the charter. So, or an addendum that we create so that the voters have it right there in front of them. They can read it in the full language, but as things change in the state law, we just update those. And it's not a big process.
In an appendix form?
Well, I don't know if appendix is the right word because that would technically be part of the charter. I think it would have to be some kind of supplement that we provided as a reference to those items that were referred to keep it.
If the charter is.
Yeah, kind of.
But if the charter is changed in any way, the voters get a chance to vote on it. There was a phrase being used in the proposed charter that said, if the state statute is changed, then the charter is automatically changed. And I don't know the validity of that, but that was one of the proposals, the last proposal in it was section 903, I believe, that was added on the last day and said that. The legality of it, I don't know, but that's how it was handled. So that at least the voters would have voted to agree that every time the state statute changes, we agree that the charter changes, but it's iffy.
Oh, it's 903.
My hate to take more homework, but is it possible that you could maybe talk here? I think we're kind of not aligned on the legality of statutes and which, if the statute supersedes the charter or vice versa. Is that something that you could provide us with clarification on? Thank you.
Yeah, that would be great.
yeah, so this is what I read. There's a couple of places in here where I think the statutes are not beneficial to the state of Vermont. That we're not there yet. So when you ask, can charters be stricter than state statutes, it says in Vermont, it says yes, but only under specific circumstances. Municipal charters in Vermont can impose stricter rules or regulations than state statutes, but only if the state legislature specifically grants that authority, which would mean accepting the charter. But it has to comply with Vermont state laws. So, and not so much in the voting because that's a civil rights issue. But when we get to spending and what's allowed, what's not,
Sure.
The state statutes are pretty lenient and give the, something to refer to this, that it's a problem for me. But we're not.
You're not very.
So yeah, I think you're right, Charlie. There is areas where there's more deference that can be given to the municipality.
Yeah.
And then other areas where it's stricter.
Yeah.
And you have to follow state statute.
And I'm sure voting, you're right. So in this case, it would be subject to statute. So
But I can also.
why can't we just list the state statute that deals with?
Well, the problem is, I think Travis said, is that if state statute then gets changed, but I think the question that Ian brought up is 903 in here, can you add this clause?
Yeah.
The statutory lesson where would automatically, charity would automatically have to follow whatever changes state statute has made.
And to me, that 903, that would be the perfect place to put it. Section 4 would be a good place to put that of our current charter.
But I don't know if you want it, because what if the state changes something, to something that you do not want? And I wanted to mention there's a case in Montpelier that was decided recently, and that was they wanted to let voters vote if they were non-citizens, and there was a dispute that went to court as to whether or not the Montpelier's charter that said non-citizens could vote in local election only, and the court held that governed that charter provision that Montpelier had for only its own locality governed, and non-citizens could vote, even though the state statute and the U.S. Constitution basically said that only citizens could vote. So,
But they limited it to
the
voting
local.
for that local
yeah,
stuff, not the rest of
But
it.
that was after it went through the legislature. And it was approved by the legislature and approved by the government.
right.
So, yeah, and that was a question of non-citizen voting, and I think it was Supreme Court upheld that the municipality can, in their own elections, authorize
So
that.
that was a case of the charter superseding what the state statute said.
Well, we're gonna
So-
run into that in other areas.
With this section 4, how do we want to proceed?
I'm sorry, I still think that's.
Okay, yeah, go
I
ahead.
know we're getting really hung up on this one, but I think it's.
Can you
important.
speak up just a little?
Yeah, I'm just saying, I do have some more questions about it. So when we're talking about city meeting, are we talking about town meeting day? Are we just talking about the council voting on council matters? What exactly are we talking about when we say city meeting? And who is voting in city meeting? I'm not clear on.
I interpret that city meeting as our March city meeting where voters, where we come together
That was what I was thinking, but then I also didn't know.
and so, well,
Also
I'm gonna ask
special
Pam
elections.
this,
I would think it would be
Special.
any meeting where there's a vote.
where there's a vote of the citizens, because they have to sign in, right, Pam? You have to sign in and
But
check
that-
off.
That
the-
would not, obviously not go to a city council meeting.
Right.
Because the citizens don't have a vote.
Right,
Okay.
so it's any vote where the citizens are coming together.
Okay.
Any meeting,
And
sorry, where the
they're
citizens.
being checked off the
Right.
register. Yeah.
Okay.
and being
Um,
checked.
As I recall from the last time we did this, city meetings were in reference to anytime residents of the city voted, like town meeting day, special elections, those kind of things. And that's what that voter qualification, and it would be my recommendation that you take a look at Title 17, Chapter 43 of VSA. That has some very specific, like who eligibility of voters, residents, those kind of things. And you could pull words from that and then reference it as, you know, something, but that is the qualifications of voters in the state of Vermont.
Would you give that again, title what?
Yep, Title 17, Chapter 43.
Is that in that
Thank you.
21 section?
I'm sorry, say again?
Well, there's a Vermont VSA subsection 21, chapter.
Yeah, Title 17, Chapter 43, subsection 1, subsection 21, yes.
Basically what I had.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
what I'd like to see, if we're gonna redo this, is not have any of this vague stuff in your chart. If you're gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
So when it says voter qualifications, and this is the old chapter, the qualifications of the voter at a city meeting should be the same as required voters of the town. Well, what is that exactly? So it would be really nice to have in there, voter qualifications shall be as taken from 17 VSA 21, chapter 43, which is, and spell it out.
Or you could
Yep.
or you could skip the reference to that and just put in what your qualifications are. Are those the ones you agree with? Then just say the qualifications of a voter in city meetings shall be that you be 18, that you be a resident of the city. that
Well,
you
that's
be whatever
basically
it
the
is.
same.
Yeah, but you're allowed to just say
Yeah.
what you as a city want.
Yeah.
You don't have to reference the state.
So you don't have to,
Yeah.
but
But if
there's
you,
something, where's that come from, then they know where it came from.
if you do, then you send them on that wild goose that's trying to find it.
And
Okay,
so
fine.
I got you into trouble last time.
Yeah.
the state statute changed later.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be governed by what the state changed it to. You know, we will also allow elephants to vote or something like that. That would be everywhere else, but we would have one that would say, no, need these 4 things, no elephants can vote. You know what I'm saying? It defines just in a limited way who can vote in this town.
And it's a simple statute. And the nice thing about that is putting it in, if you want to give the backbone to the residents of, well, where did that come from? How did you get that? You could say at the end, in agreement with BSA, yada, yada, as enacted with a date. But we don't have to change it if they change it. We're saying that this was a state statute that we agreed with. Here it is. This is what it's based on. If it changes, either we didn't change to update with it or
I'm fine with that.
redo it.
All right,
Everybody good with that?
you got it.
I'm gonna,
I'm
Well, Mike-
I'm good with it as long as Mike's research doesn't say that
I'm sorry.
it's illegal. I'm still not 100% comfortable with the legality questions of that, so I'm going to defer to Mike's research before I make before I have it.
and I think the question is the catch-all, and I don't think that they have
Mm-hmm.
in new staggered proposal. I know we've put that catch-all in when we talked about federal law. So, I'll ask and see if that works, if it does. I think you can add language just as long as, you know, when statute changes, it will change that even what you have written there, statute will supersede it.
Yeah, for instance.
Right.
For instance.
Right.
The state
And then-
statute changes to allow 16-year-olds to vote in every
Yeah,
community.
yeah, even though the charter says 18.
But that's,
Okay, you're gonna join online. Okay.
thanks, man.
And, and I must say, when, I know we're not to it yet, when we get to 903, I actually am not a huge fan of 903 because what if it does change to something that we don't like and it's something that we can supersede? I don't know that I would like it to automatically update.
I agree with that. I just think that there are instances where the law will supersede our charter, and that if we don't clearly state that that's understood in the charter, that it might run into legislative struggles and so before the legislation, and it gets passed by the city. I mean, that's thinking very far ahead.
We're not there, but I kind of wrote a thing to address that when we get there, so.
One last
Let's go back to,
One last thing on the section on elections specifically says about municipal charters. Unless otherwise provided by law, when the charter of a municipality provides for procedures other than those established by law, the provisions of the charter shall prevail. So in the section on elections and anything to do with elections, in the state statute, it specifically says the municipal charter governs if it deals with anything to do with elections. So I offer you that section as a specific thing.
Yeah, thank you.
Exhibit A.
Yes.
yeah, and I think that if they talk about positions and locations and all that kind of stuff.
And I think,
Or-
where I'm very kind of, it's still the unless otherwise provided by. So I
Right.
think I just want to make sure that we are in accordance with the state. And again, I'm thinking long-term because I'm thinking about if we are successful at the city level, it will have to go before the state legislation, and we want to give anything we do the best chance of succeeding at all levels.
Don't get me wrong, I was just offering.
No,
I'm not saying that is
appreciate this.
the end all and be all.
I'm just so unclear on it, and so like, it's just, I want, I think we need to be thinking not only of what we want, but of what we can actually do. I mean, I think so, but I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. You want to go?
No, you can.
So we could have a section, we could start this off by saying unless otherwise provided by state law, the city of Newport states that the qualification for a voter will, at city meetings will be, and you list those three things. This is in agreement with section 1117 VSA.
But if you put that in, then when state law changes, your statute
Yeah,
changes.
or you not put the last one in. I mean, it says unless otherwise provided by law, these are. Yeah,
I'll get clearer. I don't sit on the committee that does charters.
Yeah.
And so I want to understand.
Okay.
When it's presented to the committee, I don't know that they could rewrite some of the language if it conflicts with state statute. And so, but there's going to be a discussion with the city as well.
Yeah.
When I assume, but I need to find out what that procedure
So,
is.
yeah.
I think that would make it easier for us.
because,
Should we take it?
well,
Well,
we're, yeah,
yeah,
I mean, we're gonna
we're
see
just
what
gonna,
comes up with Mike. The problem is, I just want to make it clear that anything that's not spelled out in the charter, it just makes you have to go look somewhere else to get the answer. I'm not in favor of it.
I agree. I think that spelling it out to make it as clear
So
as
that
possible.
was
I'm
my.
for that. It's just that superset. I'm not sure what supersedes what. And I want to be very clear on that before I say.
Oh,
it.
I agree.
I
We
like
need to
that
spell it
statement
out.
of yours that says unless otherwise provided by state law, and then you put down what your stuff is. Then you, I think you cover both bases. You might want to check on that. That would be an easy way to do it.
qualification, yeah, I like that. All right, so I'm gonna start there and we're good, and come back and work on that. All right, so should we move on to 5?
Yep.
The warning in, this one,
I'm gonna throw it out real quick here. So
do, because this one needs some more.
my, my idea is, so section 501 of the proposed charter that
Yep.
we go down, we had some very good wording that
Form of government.
could be number 5. But in part of that, we're gonna have, see, I think 5 and 6 are all dealt with, could all be dealt with. The election officers at the annual meeting and all that could all be dealt with one.
Well, that's kind of what the proposal did.
Kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, except it left some stuff out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, the way that this is, it's kind of well, it's difficult to read in today's world because it's changed.
A radical change that alienated
The
a
3%.
significant section of,
You're talking about the 3%.
you're talking about the 25, the
Yeah.
number 25, yeah. And
Yeah, well, can we go through it first and, so a lot of this one is historic as well, and it kind of reminds you of the boundaries. Telling us that we're meeting the first Tuesday of March of 1918. And annually thereafter on the first Tuesday of March at 9 o'clock. It's so specific. We don't do that anymore. We don't even,
We don't have city.
we don't have
meetings
city
anymore,
meetings anymore, which are becoming a thing of the time, I know. So
Unfortunately.
I wrote on here, this needs to be reworked, brought up to modern day, but with the way amendments work now, I don't know how we do that. The other thing is, having been a part of, the updating of the bylaws to the credit union board I'm on, the Vermont's Banking Commission has told us in today's world, you've got to make sure you include virtual when it comes to meetings. And in order to be inclusive of all, in our case, members, but in this case, inclusive of all residents, you've got to have in your charter something to do with virtual. Now, in 2020, when we all got sent, or 19, when we all got sent home and had to do this, if it wasn't in your charter, you were forgiven. The Banking Commission told us, you're not going to be forgiven forever. You're not going to be in compliance if you don't have that in there. So I'm thinking the city charter is going to reflect the same.
And I think the morning time was only with regard to that first meeting.
But you also got to remember that
Annually
back then,
thereafter.
Pardon?
It does say annually thereafter.
back then, we actually had a city meeting. An annual meeting. We don't have that anymore. So,
We went from day.
Oh,
to
and then
night.
at the bottom, it says, but the time or the meetings shall be, if they're by Australian ballot.
Yeah, but we used to vote by Australian ballot at the meeting.
Yes, and
That's
it
what I think
says,
it's referenced.
it would no way alter the hour designated or to be designated for any meeting where any question must be voted upon under Australian ballot. So that sort of
Yeah,
says,
that's why I think this
So-
needs to be,
so let's
come back. Yeah.
bring this back to the group. So, personally, I think, because I was mayor when all of this stuff actually happened. We actually had an annual meeting. We don't have them anymore. This thing is a dinosaur.
Yeah.
It talks about stuff that does not exist.
Yeah.
So, I think it's unfortunate because we had great city meetings. With 300 or 400 people would show up, the building was full, top, bottom, everybody participated in it, and that's just not. After 1991, but I don't know exactly. You know,
There is talk of bringing it back.
Yeah, well,
I know.
they can bring it back. So I think, so section 105 in the proposed dealt with that. It got rid of the annual meeting. We don't have annual. It does say annual city meeting shall be held on the first Tuesday, but that's just voting. At which time the voters shall vote. That's the annual meeting, voting on a budget, blah, blah, blah. It's not really an annual meeting, not like what we did in the past.
You meant 501, right?
501, not
But-
5.
Oh, is that what I said? Yeah. 501.
City meetings and election.
The bone of contention, I thought this was pretty good. You could incorporate 5 and 6 into this 501 by adding what we're voting for, because it doesn't. It says the election of officers, like in C of 501, do you have that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It says the election of officers, vote on, but it doesn't say who those officers are. And it should be spelled out that, we're voting for 4 council people and a mayor, 2 aldermen each year for 2 terms, whatever the deal is. Mayor every other year for 2 terms, 3 grand jurors, listers, auditors, whatever we're actually voting for should be listed. And then the other bone of contention was B, which is what Pam's talking about, with the 3%, the petition.
It doesn't say how it's to be warned. It just says it has to be.
Can you speak up? I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. It says it has to be warned, but it doesn't say how it's to be warned. Like in the original, it says it has to be posted in 3 public places. So are we allowed to just forego explaining how it's to be warned?
No.
What?
Actually, it was changed. I'm sorry, I don't have the most updated copy of the revision of the rewrite, excuse me, but my notes show that at one point in the discussions last year, we changed that to the agenda and all ballot items for the annual meeting shall be warned not less than, and I think it was so many days prior to.
30 nor more than 40 days before. the meeting.
Yeah.
What it says here.
So that's the warning and
But I agree with what
But
Travis
it
is
doesn't
saying.
say where you.
Right, whereas our charter was our founding fathers were very specific about how they,
Posted in.
how they did it, yeah.
In a newspaper. Now today, I would think on the city website, would be one of the locations
yeah,
in the newspaper still. But what are the other ways that it's warned in the modern era? Did we define those like they did?
Yeah, I think we should.
And-
There's statute on how you're supposed to warn me.
Yeah.
So,
I think the important part about this is with respect to the 25 voters and their ability to call a special meeting of legal voters. The place where that became important was that in section 8, what happens when when somebody leaves, like a council person the seat becomes vacant. The way that's filled is either by appointment or until there's a special city meeting. So that the petition involving 25 voters signing it triggered a special meeting, and that triggered the fact that a council person who had been appointed to fill the void temporarily, once the special meeting was held and a vote was held, we had an election to fill it. If 25 people.
Well, but so the issue there is the numbers, not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The issue,
They did
right,
include
the issue
your
is that,
ability to petition.
why would you take away a right that citizens have had for,
Well, they didn't take away the right.
They did.
They changed the
Changed.
number.
Yes, but they did it for a reason, Charlie, and you know the first reason. And I'm sorry to take you for a walk through history.
Yeah, well, not too long ago, because we got 40.
Yeah,
It's
we're
really
only on
relevant. This is really relevant. The mayor who was elected quit, and she quit because of stuff that happened at the council. That is real.
Yep.
Citizens called a special petition, what the council wanted to do, because the city manager at the time was covering up for a lot of crap that happened, and you all know that. If the citizens had not been able to call for that, we would have had no choice but to go down that road and be even more in depth. It is really important.
I agree with you. They did not
You
take
know.
away the right. They did not
They
take away.
changed the number.
They changed the number.
Not
That's
have
what I
done
did.
that in the time.
that changes the right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
it does change the right. It's easy to get 25 signatures. Most of you who, run here
Sometimes.
have only had to get a petition of 25 and you go up
Okay.
to 165.
What has also changed is that social media makes it very easy to get to most people, not me, but most people, and say, if you want to sign this petition, show up at this place at this
Yeah,
time
I agree
and
with
sign
that.
the petition. And that makes it very, very simple.
And that's kind of discriminatory too, because not everybody has internet. It's discriminatory in my opinion, because not everybody's on social media. And that only targets a specific group of people, so that's staying out of this charter as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned.
that wasn't actually done.
So so the question is, how do
How do
we,
we want to redo
how do
this?
we run it? Do you guys think that incorporating 5 and 6 into one section like they did in the proposal? I mean, we can deal with the,
Yeah, well, I'm thinking
how
personally,
we write it, but
I'm thinking that the language, this is a starting, what they did in the proposal is a starting point.
Yeah.
And then we can fix the issues in there. I guess what I'm wondering about, what in the original section 5 and 6 do we feel needs to stay? I mean, it needs to be rewritten. We don't do that. We don't do most of this anymore. But what needs to stay?
that we meet on the first Tuesday
Yeah.
of March.
Yep.
It needs to stay,
And annually.
that we will
thereafter.
be electing, we will be voting on officers, city budget, that kind of stuff needs to stay. We should list, which it does in section 6, who we're voting for. You know, the mayor, city clerk, 4 aldermen, city, that some of that is changed, grand jurors, auditors, and listers, and they got rid of that in the proposal.
We don't have listers, it's just tax assessment now, right?
I think we,
Oh, we have
I wasn't
no,
listers?
sure if
we
we
still
had
have listers
We do
because
have
we have to according to the charter.
We have,
They don't do it.
we don't have that title anymore, but we do have.
They don't do it.
Yeah, well.
All right,
So
so,
it does sound like we need to make some updates to the.
Oh, definitely.
I hear you studiously avoiding city treasurer.
we aren't there
No,
yet.
no,
we're just not there
we're
yet.
not gonna avoid it. We just haven't got there.
No,
That- that-
no, I meant
That
that
depends
this,
whether we include 6 in, that's why I'm asking the question. Do we consolidate 5 and 6 into one subset,
Well,
which deals with the meeting and entire?
we do, but I've got strong opinions about in number 6. The appointed versus elected. So we appoint based on qualification, a city manager. City clerk
Where are you looking at
on
that?
6. When they have city clerk and city
Yeah.
treasurer,
Have to scratch those 2 out. And a constable, which we don't have anymore.
we elect a mayor. Yeah, we have a police department. Why do we even have, we don't even need to have that word in there anymore, right?
I
So
actually,
there,
We're gonna ask for comments to hold on just a second, Lori.
Yeah.
sure.
Get the group feeling here.
I wasn't going to address it till our next meeting, but I actually have some thoughts on the constable position. If we don't do something different with it and it stays as it is, yes, it should be eliminated. But I see, an opportunity to transition it to more of an ombudsman position. But it's lengthy to talk about, so I'd rather just table it, just to say there may be something for the constable in the future that the city would find beneficial.
I think it might be a good idea to, I think it might be a good idea not to consolidate 5 and 6, but for the purpose of like going through them, to just treat them separately, because I do think that the language for 501, with the exception of this contention over the percent versus 25, is really good. And for section 5 of the original charter, but I'm not quite certain that it necessarily covers the broader questions of section 6, like the who gets elected and everything. So I am in favor of treating 5 and 6 separately and not consolidating them and then just addressing them as individual sections.
So you talk about warning the city meetings and elections in one and elections of officers separate, two separate. Because again, that says
Yeah.
at annual meeting.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's
not
just
what
because
it's gonna
it's just who versus when. I mean, you know.
I don't have a problem with splitting them. I think they all deal with the same issue.
Well, and I think they're together on the charters, you know, so.
I think though for number 6, election of officers at the annual meeting, it doesn't happen at the annual meeting anymore, does it?
No, it happens at the
No.
First city council meeting. So I think you're gonna have to scratch out at annual meeting.
Well, no,
No?
no, but they're talking about election of officers,
The mayor.
the mayor,
Yeah, the mayor, the alderman,
council,
who's gonna be on your checklist
right,
for when you're
who's
voting?
on the ballot.
So you do go in on that.
Oh. it's-
That's why I'm saying,
And is
if you're talking about the annual meeting, why break it up into 2 different
Okay.
sections?
I'm just curious
Okay.
if Jim was elected. Yeah.
Up until this point,
Yeah.
there hasn't been, that we're gonna have a conversation about.
You just asked a question on 5 at the end, talks about the business session. So that generally happens on Monday evening.
They don't do that anymore.
You don't do that anymore? I thought they were
Business
still
section of
doing-
each
Do they?
annual or special city meeting shall be held at 8 o'clock in the evening. Of the
But
day
the
of
day
such
of
meeting,
such
yes,
But
we
the
do.
council was
We
still
still do
having
that.
those
On the
meetings.
day of the meeting?
Yeah,
No,
those-
day of the
the
voting, we
day
have to be
before,
there.
isn't it?
Day before?
Wasn't it the evening before or is it the evening?
I think it's the evening before.
I think it was too.
Yeah, because you have to talk about things before you come and vote.
The business session for each annual.
But the charter says the day of the meeting, the day of the voting.
So what that's referring to is after the votes are in, the council had to be there and we
We
are
had a meeting.
we're sworn in at the end of the voting for the day when the polls are closed, we are sworn in.
And we had a meeting. And in
And
that meeting, we discussed budgets, we discussed items on the thing.
not the
We
day,
just-
not after the
It
voting.
used to be the day before.
That was the day
The
before.
town meeting, yeah.
This was after everything changed where
Yeah.
you had going to Australian ballot.
Right.
So it sounds to me like we think that 5 really does require some rewrites. Should we go through this line by line?
Well, I think that 501A we will highlight the 3% because that's gonna be that's not necessarily where we're at.
So it's under-
Under B. And then I think that the rewrite pretty much was done for 5.
So
But as a general outline, and I'm wondering if we should go through what's there and make changes to the proposal and make that our, and then that becomes an amendment. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there. What do you think, Charlie?
I think what I wrote down in my notes was change section 5 of the charter to the wording of 501 and the proposal. But there are some changes,
Yeah,
because I've written.
so if we look at 501A, the annual city meeting shall be held on the first Tuesday in the month of March, at which time the voters shall vote for the election of officers, the voting on the city budget, and any other business included in the warnings for the meeting. The agenda and all ballot items for the annual meeting shall be warned not less than 30, no more than 40 days before the meeting. Okay, so my issue with that whole A is we don't do that. We don't have a city meeting on the first Tuesday of the month. We vote on the first Tuesday of the month, but we don't sit down and have a meeting.
But it says at which time the voter should vote, that we don't have a meeting.
The annual
Sha-
city,
Sha- Sharon, I'm sorry to interrupt. The lawyer, as I recall, the lawyer said that that is the annual city meeting is specifically voting day, March 3rd, the first Tuesday in March. So when they reference annual city meeting, that's what that's in reference to, is Vermont voting day on the first Tuesday of March.
And it kind of says that. So it says the annual city meeting shall be held on the first Tuesday, at which time the voters shall vote for election of officers. But
Yeah.
it's not technically a meeting, but you know, I don't know what you'd call it. What would you call it? I mean, it's
like Coventry meets.
Coventry meeting.
Yeah, but we only have Australian ballot for the school. So when the school holds, they hold their meeting.
Yeah.
It's just by Australian ballot. The evening before,
But it's still
they hold their
considered a meeting.
informational.
It's still
Exactly.
considered a meeting as we're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could call it the annual city election. That's what's happening, isn't it?
Well, the heading is city meetings and elections.
Yeah, it's,
Okay. So is there anything that
You want
needs to be
to,
changed? No,
you
I'm
wanna
fine
add-
with it. I mean, I'm fine with it.
you want to add what constitutes a legal one?
Yeah. How is it?
I'm sorry, could you explain what you just said?
Yeah, at the end of that, it says,
By the end of
shall
the
be
day.
warned not less than 30, not more than 40 days before the meeting, and then add in there. Warnings must be posted, blah, 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 whatever.
From what the original
whatever-
charter says.
Whatever our rules. Because the original charter, yeah.
Well, you can, yeah, in BSA covers that, right?
I
Yeah, but we don't
believe so,
want
but
to-
you need to be careful. In the original, it talks about a newspaper in the city. Right now, we have a newspaper within the city, but that's gone for 3 days a week now.
Right.
And during, we don't know what's gonna happen. And
No, I-
years down the road.
I agree,
So,
that's what we,
And does the online newspaper cost, because they do run daily editions online, does that
Mike,
constitute?
do you know if there's a state statute that deals with,
there is
Warning.
somehow,
or
there is statute on how warn me.
how to warn, so maybe.
so we could add that in, here, right?
If we agreed with it, we could put that in there.
Yeah,
Well, you have to warn the meeting,
legally.
and if that's in the state statute on how you do it, then
Right.
that's how you have to do it.
Yeah. But I think that should be added. Again, that goes back to, you're gonna hear me say this a lot during this. Not, it's a charter. Nobody cares whether it's 4 pages or 400 pages. If you read it, you shouldn't have to go research somewhere else to figure out what that is. And I think that was a pet peeve of a lot of people that voted it down, the proposal, because
It was a big deal.
there was a lot of vague stuff.
All right, so
So
we're
we're good
saying
with 5 being replaced by that
by 501. but
501.
for A, we're gonna make sure we add on there how the meeting is gonna be warned, and we're gonna base it on the state statutes.
Okay.
And
And
we'll
then-
pull out from that.
And then, okay, so we're all good with that?
Section A, yeah.
Okay,
What are
so
you doing with B?
B,
Section
that's-
B?
Okay, we're there.
I'm getting that.
We're getting there.
Okay,
So B, I don't know what everybody feels about that. I mean, I personally,
Special meeting.
I don't
should be
care.
called.
I mean, I've been here for 60 years, it's 5 been here 3 times. I don't know if it matters to me whether 5 people, 25
Here.
people, or 400 people. 400 would be.
So our founding,
I mean, I just don't think it's used.
so our authors of our original charter put in writing to have 25 legal votes of the city. 25, we don't know what percentage of voters of 1918
So
that was.
I went back and did some research, and the thing I was missing was the population, but the population I was expecting it was a smaller population.
No.
No.
It was actually a few hundred bigger than what we have now. So I think that the framers of this original document wanted it to be fairly easy for the townspeople to call a vote. That being said, their threshold, if you look at, the size of family back then, the fact that it was pre-suffrage, so it was just men, it's somewhere probably around 1,500 legal voters that were in that population. I think if you go by the intent, you have to take suffrage into effect. So I would say that the same percentage would equate to, with women included now, about 55 to 65 if you go by percentage. But I would be happy with 50. I think 3% of the total voter population is probably too strong and too big a jump. I also don't think that the town should be led around by a very small group of people that may have, a not represent the broader ideas of the full 5,000, whatever. But I think 50 is a fair number. It's definitely less, but it includes, post suffrage.
3% of when it states 3% of the registered voters of the city, that came out to
20 or so.
120. That's what I was thinking.
But I don't think that the intent of the people who wrote this is necessarily as important as the right that it gives. It's the only place that citizens are given a right to make sure that they get to elect their council people. And the council people are the people who make a lot of decisions. And I think it's important that we don't dilute that right. We had a right, we've had it since this thing went since 1920 or whatever this went into effect. And it's never been changed up until now. I think it should remain. What skin off of anybody's nose is it if we call another election? That's all it gives us, is the right to have an election. The very same people who were appointed can get their their petition of 25, which is about what they need to get on the ballot and then get elected. Just gives us a right to have our council people elected. And appointment, yes, in that interim period before it takes place. And if everybody loves your appointment, and there were times when that happened, people got appointed, nobody signed up for a petition at that point. All you're getting is election. You are not getting a new council person of our choice. We're just getting the right to have an election.
It's only been done twice.
It's not specifically for election of councilmen though, right? It's any.
That's the only place it applies.
Anything.
That only gives you, that's the only thing it gives you. Because a special meeting doesn't have any import now other than for an Australian ballot.
Lori, wasn't the votes for the financial task force recommendation one of those special elections? Or were they not?
Can you repeat that question, Charlie?
The votes for the financial task force recommendations when we voted on, allocating the money for the new fire engine and things like that. Was that special election or was that the standard election?
No, it was a called special election
But it was called by
by the city council.
the council. It wasn't called by the.
Yep.
Right.
People
No.
have to say it anyhow,
No, it was.
which is fair enough.
I don't mean to be argumentative, but I think you may be incorrect. I think it's any special election. I think that you can force a vote on.
But there is nothing, we can't put a warning on the ballot.
Okay, and maybe do you have clarification on that? If it is just for the appointment of city councilmen, I feel.
City councilman now.
Okay, I feel differently about that than if it is like calling any special election, because if the townspeople become divided on an issue that isn't the election of an official, and one side is calling it, you could theoretically just go back and forth fighting and costing the taxpayers.
To get a warning, for us to get the citizens to get a warning on the ballot, we have to get 5% of the electorate to sign a petition.
Okay, so this 25 threshold is only for
Yeah.
mayor.
Mhm.
Yeah, the council member, yeah.
That's right. There's a recall thing in here too somewhere. It's all wrapped up in that.
The recall, we don't have a recall currently in our current petition, our current charter, and the recall is 15%. If we wanted a recall,
Yes. That's right.
it's outrageously high.
Quite honestly, I wouldn't be opposed to if a mayor or alderman position became vacant, just having it be a mandatory special election. So I'm guessing I don't care if it's 25. It's the election of your representative is important. It should be held to the council. So
Yeah, I think that's where the problem was the last time in 2023 was that the council had made a decision, was headed towards making a decision to replace the then mayor who resigned with someone, and the citizens said absolutely not. And so that's therein lies the rub. And I like what you just said, Travis, because anytime there is a vacancy, you might be able to fill it, briefly, but you should always have an election. I mean, every other country does that. Didn't somebody just resign from parliament, the president? I don't know, whatever. And they have to have an election. They don't get to just fill it. So
what if we went that direction? And, as rare as it is, if a council member resigns or removed the mayor, there's just an election and it's not a.
Well, I think it needs to be spelled out because it's not spelled out here. We are under city meetings and elections, and in the current charter, it's still under talking about annual meetings. And then this 25 legal voters is for a special meeting. It does not say anything about replacement of it.
And that's where my confusion was.
There's
That's what I'm
nothing that
saying.
says that in here. It's all about,
It's when you get to section 8 that you realize that the only time that's going to become relevant is when the city council is in a situation where it may fill vacancies in elective city offices until the next annual meeting,
Right, I understand.
unless a special meeting for that purpose of filling such vacancy is sooner warned and held. So that's the only time, the fact that we can trigger a special meeting is what triggers the election.
yes, but if we're thinking forward, we don't know what might cause a special meeting or a request for a special meeting. We don't know because the situations may be different. Who knows? It could be a special meeting about anything. And when we get to section 8, we can spell that out clearly what the number is here. But I think on section 5, this is referring to a special meeting of legal voters.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
If it is replacing those elected officials, I say if we spell it out there, and I don't even think you need a petition. I think there just needs to be a special meeting held to election of your
Right, we
representative.
spell it out there when it comes to that
But
section.
that would be section
8.
So I think for section 5, I think I agree with you. I think what you're saying is because it pertains to all special meetings, not just votes to replace officials or council members and the mayor, then I think it would be easiest and probably smartest, at least in my opinion, to leave it as special meetings.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really think that it sounds like what we need to do is just figure out what that number is.
Mm-hmm. And we'll spell it out when we get to 80.
You know, is it 25, 50, 3%, whatever it is we need? I think we could move on from 5 and table what you're saying to 8, because I think that 8 is the more appropriate place for it.
So that being said, I personally think 3% is too high. I think it's too much to get 120. I think that's high. I think 25 is too little. I like
The key,
50.
the key to me was the pre-suffrage thing. It doubles your amount of
Mhm.
voters, and I think 50 is a fair threshold.
I think it's fair. I don't. And
But you were just saying you were willing. to
Oh, I'm
have
not
it
talking
be-
about.
no, we're talking about city council on section 8 being,
Just special meetings, let's say that.
But there was no other purpose of a special meeting.
that we know
the
of now,
people in
but
the
what about
city
50 years from
petition,
now?
You're right.
A special meeting to
I can think
change a
about that.
one-way street.
Then I think that should be the 50, you know.
I'm kind of asking.
Oh,
I mean, can they do that? I mean, can you call a special meeting for, if you get 25 people to vote to say, you know, we're petitioning for a special meeting to Central Street be two-way, and they
I
get
don't know
25
about
votes.
that, but there can be, so if the council puts in an ordinance that the voters don't like, they can petition to have a vote on that. It's not just elections, it's on ordinances as well.
But that's not laid out in the charter. Our
So,
chart, unless we add that to the charter.
Hold on, Lori, hold on.
So
And you're saying that's a state statute? Or is
Well,
that what
that's-
charters can put in?
That's what I've dealt with in Coventry, it's the selectmen in Coventry, was that we had put an ordinance in and then some people didn't like it, so they petitioned for a
petitioned
town
it.
vote.
Wow, interesting.
But remember, now that you have an Australian ballot, the only thing that, if we call a special meeting, we are really calling for a vote. But what could we possibly call
Well,
for a
what-
vote on?
But what Mike just said, you could call a special meeting because you don't agree with an ordinance or something that the
But
council.
that's in the ordinance itself, how, when an ordinance is passed, we have a certain number of days to file with a petition to, have that reviewed.
Well, this would be the same, it's the same
But I
thing.
don't know that the citizens, do it.
but if you wanted it to be voted on, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
What would happen if the citizens would all get to vote on the ordinance? I don't think so.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you have enough people objecting to an ordinance proposed, and the council votes it in, then you have X amount of days to file a petition, and then a meeting has to be held. It would be Australian ballot.
okay.
So in that case, 25 is too low, because every decision that the council or a board makes could be subject to 25 people signing the petition. You have to have the city vote, which costs you $7,000.
exceptionally, when we gathered signatures to stop leachate coming to the city.
Mhm.
That went to the council and council vetoed it, and it did not get onto the ballot. So there is a cutoff.
Well, it's not a cutoff. There's reasons why the council had that authority, and the voters can't tell the council how to utilize their authority. So the council had the authority to enter into an agreement, where the voters don't have that ability to tell the council what to do. You can tell them what to do by voting them out.
Voting them out.
Nobody was trying to tell the council what to do. We were trying to get something put onto the ballot, which would.
Right, but that's still
Decision.
up to the council. What,
That's a business contract. Right?
Can somebody look up 601, I'm sorry, can somebody look up 24 VSA 1972 to 1976, which is the adoption of ordinances? Section
Oh,
601 talks
we're
about.
going off into the weeds. We're not even anywhere near that.
I know, but we're arguing now about whether or not a special meeting can be called to review an ordinance.
Yeah, but you know what, that's kind of, I mean, we're getting off topic a little bit here, because basically we're talking about the original charter uses the term call a special meeting. So you're saying, Ian, that special meetings are really only for what's gonna be section 8 about city council and all that. And I'm saying, but we don't know what we don't know, is what I'm saying. And then that brings us to part B of the rewrite, that was done, when we get to the 3% of the registered voters. Now, can we live with the idea of changing that 3% for a special meeting to 50 registered voters, knowing that when we get to section 8 in a few minutes, hopefully, we are going to be then thinking, rewording that to reflect more of it has to go to a vote instead of an appointment. I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, well, we can deal with that when we get to section 8. I have a little problem with that because we did have a point where the city council lost 3 council members because 2 of them resigned and now, but that's my whole point. So if you can't appoint somebody, you have to wait. Council basically can't do anything.
Well, I think
So
that,
that's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
well, I think you could phrase it such that you could say, it's a compromise. You could say, that if there's a vacancy, an appointment will be made until we can have an election
That would be fine.
forthwith or whatever.
Remember that when we get to section
Yeah,
8.
so when we get to section 8, we can deal with that.
Whatever.
And so other than that, then
Okay, so, but we're still back to B.
we're still back to 8.
Sure, I don't think it's going to be used for much, so I think it's okay.
Is that a compromise that we can live with?
Why don't we just leave it at
Danny?
3%?
Because that's too many.
We got, how many registered voters do we have?
Because you have to do it in a short time, and
How many registered voters?
Lori, do you know you do election, correct?
You know how many registered voters we have?
Is it 14 or 1,500 maybe? Is that right?
Okay.
That is exactly.
3%, 45 people.
That's 3%?
That's a registered voter.
Jim said that 3% of the vote would be about 120, and we know that 5% of the vote is about 165.
Because I think that was residents. I don't know that that was registered voters.
This says registered voters. I mean, we only ever have about 800 votes. So,
right, but you require,
let's say we have 2,000, that's only 60. 3%, it's only
but
60.
to do this, it's not, as Claire suggested, done by a Facebook post. It's done from door to door.
I prefer an exact number because now there's a dispute
Yeah,
really
then you're gonna
about
dispute, if you're one off
registered
from the
voters or
3%.
residents.
Okay, then I'm good with 50.
I'm good with 50.
I can deal with it. Okay.
Exactly 50.
And it's not as though it's something that's used up, it's just. something-
Right, because we're gonna change, the one we really have a concern with.
Okay, then C,
50.
the election of officers, the voting on budgets, and the voting on all questions at annual and special meetings shall be Australian ballot system. Right?
Yep.
The city clerk and board of civil authorities shall conduct elections in accordance with the laws of the state of Vermont. So are we okay with?
Yep.
We are going to replace section 5 of our current charter with the proposal, section 501, with the change of 3% going to 50 voters. Everything else is gonna stay the same.
A is gonna also include.
And A is gonna include
explanation
warning.
of what a warning.
Yeah.
Requires. And C, I think we ought to list what officers we are.
I'm sorry, say that out loud.
I think we ought to list what underneath C of that 501.
Mhm.
Unless we're gonna have unless we're gonna do 6 and do it there.
Well, if you are gonna do it, then you have to talk about the staggered terms. You have to put all that in there. Yeah.
I think we could leave it in 6.
Huh?
I think we could say no changes to C and then adjust 6.
I'm all right with that too.
I'm fine with that
Because
too.
I just,
Yeah.
yep,
Are you
Do we want
Does
to
that make
put C,
sense?
do we want to put C into 6? Or do we want to just leave C and then move on?
I think we ought to put, if we're talking about electing officers, then it ought to be under one heading. So it ought to be part of 6. So five would be replaced by 501
A,
A and B with the changes that we discussed. And 6 would be C. In my mind, 6 would change to, I would be happy with what's in C of the 501, but you list who you're electing.
What do they have listed now?
Well, they have a constable, a city clerk, a city treasurer, a constable, 3 listers, 3 auditors, and 3 grand jurors.
All right, so if we keep 6 separate.
Yep.
As Danny's proposing, because that is the way the original is.
Yep.
I can live with that.
Yep.
I'm just unclear on what we should,
Start with C.
start, okay, so that, if we start section 6, which is election of officers at the annual meeting,
But it's,
With-
but C is talking more than just election of officers. Talking about
Voting
budgets,
of budgets.
Yeah.
and
voting
yeah.
on all special meet, all
Yep.
other questions.
Okay,
good point.
So
Mike.
you
Yep.
just change the heading.
or keep that under city meetings, because that's what we're doing.
Or just say motion.
Right,
Keep C there, and then 6, just put election officers, and then we would have to,
yeah, it would be less amended.
yeah.
Well, and I have one question as regards C.
Okay.
The board of,
Civil authority,
the board
Yeah.
of civil authority is the clerk, the,
council,
And the JPs.
and
Justice of the peace.
so
You're
where,
right.
where are the justices of the peace listed? I didn't see them listed here.
exactly, that's a change, I made
Yeah.
note of that too.
Okay,
Try looking at websites if you
Okay.
really want to get confused.
Yeah.
so that gets into 6. Probably the JP should be in 6.
No, the Board of Civil Authority is what? If we have that.
Right. No, I'm saying that the talk about where the JPs
You're
at,
right.
we're getting into 6 and that's. where
And
the
that,
problem
those are elected, correct?
Right.
Yeah,
And
Question, aren't they state positions? They're municipal positions?
Municipal.
Yeah.
There is a state justice of the peace.
so we could leave
But
C
it's also in-
as
So
part
you-
of 501, all as part of 5. And then 6, we have to rewrite.
Yeah,
because it's-
we gotta go into
it's-
this more. Okay.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that section 6 also references revised, rewritten charter section 202 and 204. Just so you know.
Say that again, please, Lori.
In the rewritten charter,
Mhm.
section 6, I mean, the old charter, current charter, section 6 reference is also linked to new section 202 and 204 in the reworked charter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Which, yeah, so which says, 202, for instance, says what composition
So
of.
two- Yeah,
Yeah.
composition of city council,
Yeah.
and then,
Yeah,
Two
we
of-
made reference to that.
Yeah.
yep, okay.
But it doesn't deal with,
It left out some things.
Yeah. so are we good? Are we done with 5?
And
5's gonna
C's
keep
just
A,
gonna,
B, and C
C
with
is
the
listed.
changes that we discussed. Okay, so 6, the election of city officers. That'll just, is it again at the annual meeting? I guess I don't care what it is.
the annual
I
meeting,
just, we don't really have. annual meeting.
the said corporation, still elect, some amount of legal buildings. Okay, this is who we elect in this city.
Right, so that has to be listed, but this is, so I guess we have to decide. So in the rewrite, they eliminated a constable. Is everybody on board with that?
Like I said, I have something I would bring forward, but I'm not prepared to do that today. Can we table that till we get to the constable section 15?
This whole section?
No, he's saying until we
Just
get,
the word, can we table that till we get to section 16, or 15, which is next meeting? we'll discuss that.
It's separated out.
And what is that?
Well, there-
possible? Because we're not sure.
It's the constable position.
It's right.
Okay.
Section 15 is the
15.
constable.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna
Okay.
put brackets around that now.
Yeah, so I just decided we should eliminate it now through 20.
Well, he's got an idea, so
Okay.
we'll, yeah, we can table that to you. If you're ready to present
Yeah.
that.
So what about city clerk treasurer?
That to
Are we
me
gonna
is not
go-
a point, that should be.
Are we
appointed.
gonna go in the direction of, a appointed city clerk? That's the, that's in this.
Appointed would then mean qualifications.
Yeah.
Educational. It would mean interviews, it would mean, same thing as the city
Why
manager.
don't we let Mike speak to this, because he can probably give you from history a
Yeah.
good reason why we should do that.
Yeah, well, from my perspective, and this was in Coventry again, we had a clerk, a treasurer holding the same position and also holding many of the positions that, were elected that, caused a lot of problems. We, I had put some language in the legislature that
Can you speak up a little?
gave towns that are unincorporated didn't have charters, the ability to appoint their clerk or treasurer. And I mean, here it's worked fine in Newport, but it's all dependent on the person that you elect. And we all know elections can be more name recognition,
Then
than qualification. And as budgets get more and more difficult, as laws change in Montpelier as far as the clerk's position goes, they become more and more difficult. And you need people, and listers are the same thing too. It becomes more and more difficult to find qualified people that know how to run those positions. And so, I mean, I would advocate that the city would allow for the council to make those appointments to clerk and treasurer at the very least. Because you could get into really big trouble if you have the wrong person sitting in those positions. And if they're combined, that's combining a lot of power to one person.
Well, and you could reelect the same person that made a lot of errors, because they run again.
In their popularity.
And the select board has no choice of what to do about it. So are we all good that we think the city clerk and treasurer should be appointed in to the board?
I feel that way.
Yes,
I agree, you know.
Dennis is, yeah.
Oh, hi, Dennis.
Qualified.
Yep.
It removes the.
Can you speak up? I'm sorry.
Put that past. I agree wholeheartedly, they need to be qualified, and just because you're popular doesn't mean you can do a job. That being said, it does remove the power of the citizens to, you know, replace somebody that has done things that isn't in line with the wishes of the citizens. Is the
You need to remember too that you elected a council.
That's right.
mayor That represent you.
Whose job is. to do
Whose
the-
job
They do
is
that,
to
and if the citizens aren't
responsible.
happy with the way the council or the mayor has presented, they can vote them out.
I'm good with that.
Are you willing to take comment from the public? Okay.
Yeah.
I agree that it should be the appointed position. One of the issues is that if it's an election, the person has to be a resident of Newport in order to run. So that limits the pool of people.
Very true.
And what we've found in historical practice is that often the people that might be qualified here in Newport, because of all the turmoil that it's existed over the years with the city council, they're unwilling to run. So just trying to beat the bushes and finding somebody to run for the office is a real challenge.
Yeah, I think so.
Hang on, I wasn't,
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
okay.
Yeah, but you gotta keep it brief, like
Yeah. you gotta
2
keep-
minutes, because
That's fine.
we're not getting done what we were
The
hoping to.
sticking point-
4 minutes away from the end of the. Karen has to-
The sticking point for me is that I truly, truly believe that somewhere in this language, you have to put that the person can only be terminated for cause. So they work at the direction of the council, but they can only be terminated for cause.
Yeah, and we're not to that section yet.
Okay, I'm just,
Yeah.
because that's critical. If you're gonna make it appointed,
We're only at
If-
section 6.
What we're trying to do is whether we agree that it's gonna be appointed. Further down the road, we
We'll
will have
get
to
to
have a
that.
section describing
Yeah.
the city clerk treasurer.
I happen to agree with you, but we're not quite there yet.
So, for instance, the council is voted and the mayor with the duties and the city manager to make sure that the city's in good financial shape and all that kind of stuff. Well, if they don't have any power to deal with who's handling the finances of the city, then that's kind of a conflict of jobs. Now, I think it's a no-brainer, but we as a group have decided that's where we're heading, and we can move on.
Can we,
So that, yeah,
Dennis, how,
he said yes, right? now.
you agree that city clerk and treasurer should be appointed, not elected?
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay, so
We're
I
all-
think we're all in
We're all
agreement on
on
that.
board. So
So that's gonna be.
I don't think we're gonna get past 6 today.
Well,
So it was a pretty aggressive agenda trying to do.
we said we were gonna try to meet from 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Ish. I have to leave by
You have to leave by 11.
11. I gave myself an hour.
Everybody else good with another little bit? But
I'd love to see us get done at least
So-
6.
So 6 elected officers, I think, should be on the first Tuesday of March. City of Newport will elect from among the legal voters of the city, a mayor. Or, well, you're not elected for Alderman and city treasurer, but you should list it up. So the other, let's find out. So constable, we're still not sure of. 3 listers. Do we have listers?
Lori, do we have listers?
Have we had a list
Frank,
in the last
Frank,
15 years? Not that
Frank.
What's Frank's position? What do you, Frankie can't get used to this. Frank.
He's the
Zoning admin, so that's not the
Zoning
same thing.
administrator and
So what they deal
I know.
with, what they deal with, most communities are going to now is a professional appraiser.
For a lot
Which
of the
would take
same
care of the
reasons we're
list.
just listing.
For the same reason that you're talking about the council. And that's not in our charter, but that's something we need to think about adding another
Okay.
section. That was dealt with in the rewrite. That they hire a real estate assessor. I checked to see what most other communities want to do. That's what they're all doing.
What was the
They hire a
section?
professional. Huh?
What was the section of the rewrite?
202.
Real estate assessor, 701. So it says, in lieu of the election of listers, there shall be either a real estate assessor who is a certified real estate appraisal or independent appraisal firm headed by a certified appraiser appointed by the city council. Blah, blah, blah. And they shall return such to the city clerk within the time required by law, so they are subject to laws that when this stuff has to be done. But,
So Charlie,
701 would have to be,
in what I
or
hear,
something similar to that would have to be added.
so what I'm hearing you say, Charlie, for number 6 is your proposal is this first line, then incorporate almost like a bullet of.
Yeah.
Of the, to make it easier to read,
Yeah.
who is being appointed.
Yep.
Done.
Or are we
Who's
gonna
being
being
elected,
elected.
sorry,
And
who's
then
being
just-
elected.
take a point?
Yeah, we would
Right.
move those into section.
Take the appointment. in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the 3 listers, does that come out?
The auditors. we
3
hire-
auditors, we hire auditors.
Right.
As we should.
so we should take that. And deal
And
with
the
it.
grand jurors, I don't know that we appoint or elect grand jurors.
I think it's on the ballot.
Yeah,
It has to be.
That's
I
Mr.
don't know what they
I
do,
just had-
but
I don't think we have names in there for them.
no, most of the time people.
Is that the
don't.
question?
We had, I mean, Bill Gilding was a.
Was that Michael Vincent was? My Uncle Vincent too, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what he did?
Yeah,
So the question, I guess, for Mike is, do we need to have grand jurors? Can we take it out, or does it have to be there for some reason?
I think, I don't know, but grand jurors is on the ballot, I think, in every community.
yeah.
I think you better leave it in there.
They can sit with the courts,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prosecutor.
So I think we leave that in. I think city clerk, city treasurer, constable, and we can go back to it if we want to change that.
Yeah.
The listers and the auditors all should be,
Yeah.
you know,
So this would just say the legal voters, have said city, a mayor, 4 aldermen, and 3 grand jurors.
right. And I would add a little bit more. I would go, there shall be a city council consisting of 4 council members and a mayor, 2 aldermen each year, and two terms, unless by necessity to fill a vacancy, which will be elected for the balance of their term of the vacancy. A mayor for 2 years, and then 3 grand jurors, and that's it.
Can we go back up?
So-
Can we go back up to the top? Is it from among the legal voters?
Yes,
Not residents?
voters, because you're voting them.
You're voting.
You vote on them.
But they are electing from among the legal voters of the city, a mayor. But you don't have to be a legal voter to be mayor. You can just be a resident of the city.
It probably should be by the legal voters in the city.
Well,
Amen.
no, because you wouldn't elect a mayor who was 17. You wouldn't elect a mayor that lived in Coventry. Basically, the qualifications for mayor are all.
So that should say resident instead of voters, because she's right, you don't have to be on the
Well,
ballot.
why would you not be a voter if you were a resident? and you
You
were-
have a-
Because you don't have to register to vote. But you're entitled.
But then you have to define who can be mayor. They have to be over 18 and they have to live within the city. I think it was a shorthand of covering those 2 things.
Yeah, qualifications, so you couldn't order like a 16-year-old.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they're a resident.
Oh, you're right. It doesn't fall, so would either.
Lori?
2 quick comments. One, that among the legal voters, depending on how old that verbiage is, remember that at the founding of the city, legal voters did not include women, right? So that may have been
what was wrong with that?
what that reference is. So anyway, and then the other comment is at some point in the last 8 or 10 years, and other people, Pam, Dennis, others may know better than me, there were positions that had been appointed or elected that were sort of gradually removed from the list. You know, I don't remember what they were, but I know at one city council meeting years ago that all of a sudden we didn't have certain, so there just might need to be some historical research done on what was removed from that. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, they removed, fence viewer,
Yeah.
tree warden, and that kind of stuff. It was all,
So,
So wouldn't it be voters eligible to vote?
at the end,
Um,
the said corporation shall elect from among the legal voters of the city.
You only have to be an eligible voter. You don't have to actually register.
But
I think legal in this sense means eligible.
Yeah.
I
but
think that's
isn't legal a
what they're
more
saying.
powerful word than eligible?
yes.
Just to play devil's advocate here, if I'm electing somebody, I should hope that they would have enough interest in the future of my city
To be a voter.
registered to vote.
Let's
Because
see.
that's how you,
Yeah, I think
that's
you
how you
keep that.
decide your governance
Yeah,
of your
I
city.
agree. Let's,
And if they're not willing to do that, I don't think that they should be allowed to vote.
Well,
I mean, to run.
I think that legal, the adjective legal here supersides eligible.
And I would
and
agree.
legal is defined,
Right.
so
So
earlier. in the
if we
sentence.
keep it at the annual meeting, the said corporations, do we need, shall elect from among the legal voters of the city, a mayor, 4 aldermen. We're not sure what we're gonna do about constable, and 3 grand jurors who shall hold office until the next annual meeting. That does not go along with the whole idea that a mayor is a 2-year elected position.
You need to spell that out. That's why I did that here.
Yeah,
Mayor,
I did that too.
so mayor every other year for a 2-year term, 2 aldermen each for a 2-year term alternating. So you're gonna 2 aldermen each year for 2-year term would mean you're only electing 2 every year.
Right,
And then you put in a thing unless there's a vacancy, because if, say somebody quits before that, then and there's a vacancy on the board, then you can have that 3rd person on there, but you have to spell it.
which is spelled out pretty much.
It does in the original.
Kind of, but the original also
Uh,
says 2 said elected aldermen shall be elected for 1 year and 2 for 2 years. That's because that was the first time.
First time.
That doesn't apply anymore. You know what I'm saying? That was so they got it on an alternating scale. So the easier way is just say two aldermen each year for 2-year terms.
True.
And then beyond
You
that,
wrote
we
this
don't,
out?
we don't need anything on that section, right? You just have to clear up who we're electing.
Right, so,
So at the first meeting,
yeah, you've got that down, right?
pretty much, yeah.
That's the piece that I missed.
Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that we got through less than half of it, but we were intending to get through.
Well, we're gonna-
We
We were gonna move it, we were gonna go forward.
We're
We're gonna go to, we're gonna try to go to
That's all right.
10:30, is that okay?
That's fine. I do just want to just do a little bit of admin though, just before we move on. So for the next meeting, should somebody try to get what we've done so far typed?
Yeah, we're
up?
gonna,
Yeah, Charlie and I, we live
Yeah.
across the street from each
Okay.
other, we'll try to do that.
I was just, I didn't want to do anything, but we did some good.
I'm trying to take good notes.
yeah, and I am too. So between the 2 of us, we should.
We'll try to get that done.
And then we'll kind of present that. We will send that out to you in advance, so you've had time to read it, so we're not reading it for the first time in the meeting, so that we can get stuff done.
Did you all see the shared folder I set up? So in that shared folder, if I have it, I'll have a file in there of our proposal, our updates from each meeting.
And the public can access that as well. or not? Was that just when you emailed it?
That one is just shared amongst,
Yeah, which is fine. I mean, because that's not,
but the
because we haven't
public,
voted on it.
you all have our email addresses and are going to email either Charlie or myself with concerns. And then I have a file set up in that shared drive to put those as well for everybody to see. Right? Does that work? Because it was brought up on Friday that it would be easier if all emails came to Charlie and I instead of everybody. So, but I feel that everybody needs to be able to access them. So that's why I will put them. Hopefully I can figure out how to make sure they go. I think I've got it figured out.
I can help you with what we discussed.
Perfect.
I can't help you to have to put it in. I don't want to.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so
So
7,
6,
6,
okay, see Charlie, I'm putting on my.
mayor and board of aldermen of city council, that's all pretty generic stuff, I think.
Yeah, with the rewrites. 202 and 205 address this. Okay. One of the rewrites, I thought, mayor and board of aldermen as city council. Well, we're gonna change the word alderman to alder person. Which that was discussed at length
Or
earlier.
the council, city council.
Yeah, we'll come up with a different, but
Yeah.
anyway, mayor and board of, if we look at, 202.
Yeah, those are pretty good components, I think,
Um,
which could go into this.
well, it's just being more specific.
Again, in 202B, theoretically, you could elect a 16-year-old as a councilman that fit the qualification.
No, you couldn't, because we've already addressed that when we say legal voting.
Well, yeah, if we keep that, I'm just saying it.
But we're gonna keep that.
I'm sorry, you're gonna keep 7 the same?
Oh, wait, just a second.
No.
No.
I think you're gonna,
Mayor and board of
I gotta. You guys go ahead.
Doesn't it keep the legal voters in the other section? I think you should put a comma and put that in 202B, so there's not a need to cross-reference to a different section. Because often that's how confusion arises. So you could just say, all members of the city council shall reside within the boundaries of the city of Newport, comma, shall be a legal voter within the city of Newport, comma, and shall be elected by qualified voters. And that would bring you into, compliance, if you will, with the other section.
The only thing not covered in 202, or the only thing notable, not covered in 202 that I see covered in 7 is 7 does address compensation and 202 does not.
Can you say it again?
compensation, it is in the rewrite,
Yeah,
it's,
it's in another section.
it's in another section, and it is, I looked it up.
207.
207, yeah, that's one of the things I was saying. I was thinking, get it all together instead of being separated out.
So I would say we could, if section 7 could be a combination of 202 and 207, I think that would.
Oh, I know, but one of the things, look at 204. Do we cut, it's 20,
It was covered in something you just did.
Is it? About the,
appointing a president of the council, that's an 8.
Oh.
Oh, no, it's not.
well,
7.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah, a number, the president, okay. So I had put down 202, 204, 207 addresses all this. Charlie, what have you done?
Same thing. Well, just because I think the terminology is clearer than
Then what's present?
what's spoken.
What about,
And I think I've said right along, I think we should pay the city council better than what we're paying them now. And the city council will never vote to do that, so it never gets done. And and we could just hook it to, we could set a rate and hook it to a cost of living increase. And then nobody would ever have to do it. I mean, what right now, when you serve, it costs you money. Because the numbers are just stupid. I mean, what does the mayor get now? $2,000? Huh?
2,000.
Okay, I get $7,500 for being president of the ambulance. And I figure that's probably $10 an hour for my time. $2,000 for the mayor of the city is ridiculous. So, and they're never gonna bring it out as a board. Because then people are gonna say, oh yeah, well, you're giving yourself a raise and blah, 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 you know. So if it's just in here somewhere,
A raise to less than minimum.
huh?
A raise to less than minimum wage.
Well, less than a shoe shine. I mean, it's ridiculous, man.
Mike, how is it handled in other cities to be, do you know? Do they set compensations in the charter?
I'm assuming they do. I mean, I guess the way it's set up in the redraft is that it's part of the budget. But if people aren't happy with the budget, they vote the budget down.
Yeah.
So I mean, the council can put in raises for themselves, but it still has to be voted on by the voters.
How did they handle it? How they ordered it here? Compensation
Yeah,
set to the
the
city
problem with that is
council.
it doesn't fix the
No, it does not.
Yeah, Jen.
So behind the scenes in conversations with residents had the same approach, that they're not getting paid enough. And I had an even more extreme idea that they should be paid, something along the lines of, $25,000 or $30,000. Because in order to get people to be willing to give up their time, there really needs to be some sort of compensation involved in there to make it worth their while. I mean, getting people to run in Newport is a real challenge. And I think if you set those numbers at a rate where they felt like, okay, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to give my time, at least I'm feeling like I'm getting something for it, it would be better. So I agree wholeheartedly. I just agree even more to the
You agree a
extreme.
little more than I do.
Right, exactly, but I think that it really should be at least like 15 grand for the mayor and 12 grand for the council members, but that's a minimum. I really think it should be something double that.
Yeah.
So that you get good qualified
That's why
people.
if we find something that's reasonable, now, you still want to keep it a volunteer. Basically, when you serve, you're serving because you want to serve the city. And I understand that, so,
I think your idea of setting a minimum with a COLA every year, I mean, we've done that in the legislature. We
Yeah.
tie ours to the COLA that the state employees get.
yeah, because if
It
we,
eliminates that every year having to come in and.
well, they're not gonna do it because they're gonna be criticized for doing it. And it's not right that they're gonna be criticized for doing it. If you don't like them, then vote them out the next time around, but you shouldn't have a problem with paying them at least to cover their expenses. I mean, that's what I mean, hell, when I was mayor, I think I was $1,000. That was 40 years ago. And my taxes were probably $800, so probably actually paid my taxes for a year. Now it won't even come close. So I think we ought to consider that in this as well. So that would be what, 207?
That's 207. Okay,
Where's the compensation for the mayor?
yeah, it's not in here.
It's not in,
It's not in our charter.
it's not in our church.
Oh, it is in there. It says the mayor and the alderman shall receive such compensation as
Well,
the
yeah,
city shall determine.
right.
Yeah,
It said there's no dollar
There's
amount.
no dollar.
So,
okay, well, if we go back to now the wording of number 7, the mayor and board of aldermen as city council. What's our proposal here? With what's in here,
What does the council make now?
1,500.
Is there a difference? Is there?
president.
I
gets
guess,
more.
I really
President gets
don't,
more
I
and
haven't
then
gotten it.
the
I think the
gets more.
president gets more, yeah. Not by a lot.
I don't know.
It's
I think it's like 1,500, 1,750 for the president, 2,000 for the mayor. All.
I would think you'd set it at whatever the levels are now and then put a COLA in there. You know, cost of living, I think, comes out in Boston, whatever that is yearly, that's what you raise the compensation every year.
I think the mayor should be getting a minimum of 10. Minimum.
It's minimum wage in the state.
1451.
So it would still be under minimum.
Well,
Right now, he's acting like city manager.
well, that's the problem. So if in a world where you don't have no city manager or assistant for 3 years, then the mayor's job's a lot of work. If you've got a good administrator and a good treasurer, clerk, treasurer, if you've got good people in those appointments, then the mayor's job is not nearly as hard. And I think 10, 15,000 is too much at that point. So, because you just, I mean, there's a fine line between making it a job that people rely on, and that's their income and community service.
Yeah,
15 though is not a job. You can't live off of that kind of money.
I mean, that's what we gotta decide. I know.
Yeah.
okay, well, before we even get to this compensation part, jumping ahead, let's look at,
we're gonna describe
how we're going to describe the mayor and the board of aldermen. So the rewrite is, well, that's not good. The rewrite had, 202.
Yep.
204.
which explains
Oh,
what the city council,
Now, the 204.
Yep.
That's bringing us up to date from, as opposed to it being the first year of an annual meeting, which is kind of what it said by the mayor and board of aldermen. So
204 doesn't put terms in. We're
204 was,
gonna do that.
that's
We've already
later.
done
So that's not that one.
in
That's,
5 and 6.
yeah. So 202.
What about the first sentence of, section 7?
Yeah, I was getting to
That
that.
explains,
I'm getting to that.
that's in there, okay.
So I like that first line that says the administration of all fiscal, prudential, and municipal affairs of said city and the government thereof shall be vested in the mayor and board of aldermen. Now, one of the things that came up in the rewrite was 105, the form of government. And we also had a presentation as to what a council manager form of government meant, which is basically what we've always done. Does that 105, does that fit in here somewhere? Or do you see that more as the powers of the mayor and city council as opposed to mayor and board of aldermen?
That's a good point, because our charter right now assumes a strong mayor format.
Whereas
And we're not a strong mayor community, and my strong mayor community is Burlington, whose mayor
You're
runs
paying
the
them.
town, Rutland, whose mayor runs the town. So I think this is important, and it probably should be upfront. But that's what we said when we flipped things around, but prior to 7,
Mhm.
We probably ought to add this and the council manager form of government, which is, I guess we ought to get ourselves straight on whether everybody thinks that's the way to go. I mean, I certainly do. I mean, it's what we've been acting as without really acting. But
And quite frankly, when we had that presentation at a council meeting a few months ago, I sat there saying, you know, why are we taking the time to do this? This is what we do. This is us. But then when I went back and looked at the charter, it's not in the charter.
No.
But it is what we've done for 100 years.
For a long time.
Well, with certain, certain supervisory things that are handled by the council or
So-
reviewed by the council, so there is a check and balance.
But you describe that later on.
And you just, right. And so, I mean, my big thing is the Constitution was set up for checks and balance. Our city charter needs to be checks and balance so that we do not have one section any more powerful than the other. So we are checking and balancing each other. But that is what a council manager form of government does.
So are you proposing that section 7 include 105, 202, 204, and 207 with some adjustments to the compensation?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much.
Yep.
You do the same thing.
Okay.
So if we start number 7,
What about 201? Okay, so, all right, so I understand what you're doing. You're trying to hold it into the old format.
I'm
Yeah,
trying to
we'll
keep
get
the,
to it.
yeah, I'm trying to keep the same format that we have.
It's gonna be hard because
Yeah.
up till now, it was all pretty easy, but quite frankly, 105 and then all of 2 is so much more effective. And you can't, I mean, it's gonna be hard to get it where we need it to be in the old format. But 2, all of subchapter 2 is very well written.
I agree with you 100%.
Oh, and that's going to incorporate 9 as we go forward. So that's really important.
Yeah.
So that's going to incorporate officers appointed 8, 9. Well, 8 and 9 and 13 are all going to be of what we're trying to get done today, and 14.
Well,
13, 14, 14A, 8 is all, if we do the form of government change, and then we decided to eliminate the city clerk treasurer being appointed, that's all, and have to go to different, we're gonna change the whole.
So what if you take, 7 and you put in 105 in there, so 7 would be the form of government.
Right.
Then you'd add 7A. Which would be your
Yeah,
mayor and board of aldermen. So that would be
Yeah.
202.
I like that, 7A. Yeah,
Here's the form of government that the city has established in
yeah,
the charter, and then here are your.
and put
mayor,
in
your
B, could be 202.
Hmm.
Or not.
so what do you propose, 7A?
Yeah, it's where you would put your form of government from the charter proposal.
Yeah.
105.
105.
Did you guys get the cross-reference guide?
Excuse me?
Did you get the cross-reference guide? There
Uh,
is a cross-reference from the draft proposal and the existing charter.
I mean, I did it myself,
Yeah, there is one created. It
but
was,
I didn't use the one you created. I know.
Okay. Yeah, John did that.
I thought it was cumbersome, so I did my
too
own.
hard. We've been basically doing that, Lori.
Yeah,
Okay.
just,
Okay. Can we go back? The way 207 is written now, that first sentence, does that stay?
where are you talking? 207?
I'm not sure. Sorry, 7.
7. You said 2.
I think,
That's fine.
is it, when we add 105 though, does that kind of change it? When we start talking about the council manager format, does that kind of replace that language or?
No. No, the 105 says we will be a council manager form of government. We're just spelling out, you know, how it works.
Well, 105, does that replace that paragraph?
No, I don't think so.
Oh,
Because that says, which shall enact ordinance, 105 says what it does. They'll enact ordinance, codes, regulations, adopt budgets, determine policy, so all powers of the city, the manner. But it doesn't explain who constitutes, because 7 basically it constitutes what constitutes the mayor and board of aldermen. 105 just says what form of government.
So then do we leave the language as 6 except for the last sentence, which talks about compensation, and then add 105, 203, 204, and 207 as
6 or
A,
7.
B, C, and D?
6 or 7.
So
I mean, 7.
I mean, 7.
Yes.
if you wanted to leave the language in 7,
Yeah, which I think is fine.
then you could just use the first sentence in 105, the municipal government provided by this chapter shall be known as council manager form of government. Then you get 7A, then you take the language of 7. Or you can just use that language instead of the language that's in 105 after form of government.
And the one thing that doesn't seem to fit here in 7 is the election of the president of the board. I actually think that should be moved into 8, because the president of
I
the board
agree.
is an officer appointed by the city council. Take that out, move it into 8, keep it the same. Yeah, involve some of the language in 105 into 7, because the language is good. See, I was thinking keep the first sentence of 7 and then append 105 starting at the mayor and alderman. Comma, known as a council manager form of government. Basically take that into the first sentence and attach it to the first sentence of, because it's just defining it.
Yeah, right.
And then go on. I think that 105 actually does a better job of outlining that
Then 7.
than 7.
Might this be a good place to stop? My brain's on overdrive.
Well, let's see if we can just clean up
Clean up 7,
stuff.
okay, because I'm losing
And
you.
then we'll stop.
Mr. Bronco, could I just say one thing?
Yep.
So, I think it's absolutely critical that the line in the original charter that states that the mayor and the board of aldermen in their joint capacity shall be the city council stays.
Yeah, and but you know what, Jen, it's also, that's stated like that all over the place. Yes,
I don't think the language in 105.
no, but in 202, it's in there.
The powers invested in the city council, which shall include 4 alderpersons and a mayor.
But it doesn't say in a joint capacity. I think what she's getting
Oh,
at.
joint
So
capacity.
the mayor
Yeah,
can't come in and say,
Yeah.
I am the
Yeah.
CEO.
Yeah.
Newport.
So we can add it in there.
It's gotta
I like
Board
that
mayor
word. I like the
joint
joint.
capacity.
That's a good word.
So that's what she's getting. You
Yeah.
like that section.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's gotta stay.
So why don't, we can rewrite this,
7.
kind of what everybody's talking about and see if that all sounds good to you.
That might be
Next
easier if we sit down and rewrite number 7 and we start on Wednesday with number 7 and go forward from there. You got plenty of wine, Charlie?
Well, I just see models out on this through the first
Come on,
hour or
real
two.
low.
I'm gonna do an hour or two.
This is hard work.
Okay. so,
Dennis, are you
yeah,
okay
so
with-
we didn't get anywhere near,
Well, we got close.
but you know, I think a lot of them are gonna fall into place after this, once we get going,
Yeah.
because some of these,
Let's just, I want to check in. Dennis, did you hear
Yes.
what we were just talking about?
how are you?
We have we're on number 7. and
Right.
we are looking at incorporating some of the proposed language of 105,
Right?
202,
Mm-hmm.
and 207. And we're at the point where it's getting a little cumbersome, so we were thinking Charlie and I will rewrite it. And we'll start our Wednesday meeting with that as a talking point.
Sure. Sounds good.
Okay. Therefore, we still have 8, 9. I think on Wednesday, we don't go any further than 14A still.
Well, unless it gets pretty quick, because it might.
Um,
I mean, not that anything has.
No, it's not going.
If the city clerk and a treasurer, if those end up being appointed positions, do we need the detail that's in the charter for those positions?
I think.
Well, some of it and the rewrite in here, I think is well worded, and I think we're gonna be able to mesh those two.
So,
I don't know,
yeah,
easily, I'm not gonna say
look in here,
easily,
it's-
but
And that's kind of,
the Board of Authority and the Board of Abatement, that's an easy one. Police officers, that's an easy one. Well, maybe it will go fast. Should we all agree to look at 15 and 16 then maybe as well? In case we get that far?
Can we get credit for it? I mean, are we,
Well,
when we join these meetings, do we have to go into the vote? Would that have to go to the
No.
town? Or
No,
is
this is just for us.
no, but it gives,
It does give them, it gives people a chance to look
gives
at it.
people an idea of where we think we're gonna be going.
I think it's better to be more ambitious, I mean, to be over
Let's
than
say
under.
we'll start at
We're gonna start at 7.
7 and work our way towards 20. Which, you know, might not happen, but that's better than, that's 8 less than what we were gonna do.
Okay. We're gonna start with 7 through 20.
In case things go fairly quick,
Okay.
then we move beyond
I mean,
that.
quite honestly, I'm sure who amongst us hasn't read all these.
Oh, I've read them in several, yeah. Well, in Charlie's defense, as I'm giving him a hard time here, as you look ahead, it's spelling out what's being appointed. So it's spelling out things we don't do anymore,
Exactly.
such as the auditors,
Constable,
seer of the poor,
Department of Assessment, auditors. That's what I'm saying.
superintendent of streets,
Some of
they
this-
have a job.
Some of this
somewhere,
stuff is
yeah. All right,
overseer of
he
the
made it
board.
right, I hate to
So
admit it.
those
but he
things are
made it
gonna
right.
go pretty quick.
Okay. I'm
Better-
okay with that.
And if we don't get there, we got halfway there today.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't
And
get there, we
so-
don't get there, but.
So our next meeting is Wednesday afternoon from 3 to 5? Okay, ish.
Ish. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be long.
It gets to the point where we have to know when to stop too, because we get on overdrive. My brain's saturated right now. I need a
Well,
break.
and we've talked a lot about it. I think we can piece it and then say, how does this fit with everybody? And say, yeah, but let's change this and this and that. And it may incorporate 2 or 3 things. And then we're good to go.
I'm wondering, well, this is to get the rewrites that Danny was just talking about, to make sure we capture everything we're talking about. Maybe somebody knows. So this, our charter is online.
Yep.
If I make a copy of that, does it then go out of PDF so that we can make changes to it? We can work with it?
If
It's a PDF now.
If you have an editor.
I do not.
Okay.
I'm on a Mac.
Of these,
I'm sorry, I have it as a Word document. I can send it to you, Sharon. The current charter,
Yeah.
the current charter I have I translated it from a PDF to a Word document. I will send it to you.
So I'm probably capable of doing that if I knew how to do it.
You have to have a bigger version of Adobe to do that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Just remember, I'm on a Mac.
yeah, you probably do. So I thought about too. You probably got the free version of Adobe, which doesn't allow editing. And then.
Okay. Good.
I have your tag here. We have
Hey, Lauren.
contact. So can I contact you if I get stuck? You're probably much better at this than I am.
You can also copy and paste stuff that we're keeping.
Yeah, you can't on a
and-
PDF.
And delete, no, but I mean, once you get it into a document.
Lori, can you send that out to me as well?
Can you
Sure.
send the PDF, I mean the Word, to Travis?
If she
Yep.
sent it to you, you can put it in the share drive and then we'll all have it.
Okay,
I don't know, there you go. That's a good idea. I don't know if I want to be that technical. So the other thing is, if we talk, I just want to bring this up real quick. This is not other than how we go about things. So bringing up the old document and striking it and putting in red and all this kind of stuff, really not going to work for this. I mean, because it'll be a mess. I mean, but do you guys really want to do that?
I thought it would until we hit number 7 and looking at it.
It's just going to be harder.
Okay.
I don't know how you do it.
but now, so I've got, Mike, this might be something you have to check into. When we do bylaws, the Banking Commission very much wanted bold, anything that we're adding in a different color, and we were to italicize existing, and we were to strike through things we're taking. They were very specific about how to present the updated bylaws to them.
Ask them if we have to do that.
What's the legislature want?
Part of what legislative council, because they're the ones that are gonna have to put it together.
Okay, so what do they want?
Yeah. In other words, can we just rewrite,
I have to-
change the language on this
Yes, there is an option.
without having to have a side by side showing everything we struck,
They can do
everything
that.
we added.
They have software that.
So they can,
They can pull it up.
so if that's good, then that's cool, because
But there's
for
a-
us to do that, so.
There's a statute that covers it. And the first thought is that the way you do it is to do just what you were talking about, that you strike through or that you're eliminating of the section and you put your new words. And so far, you've been able to do that with everything.
Going forward, that's not.
Well, I think you're going to be able to do it I think you're going to be able to do it. And that would make it so easy for a voter when they come to vote to know what was it that it was to begin with and what are they asking for now? Do I want that? Yes. Do I not want that change? No. On each one of those sections. Otherwise, you wind up with the thing that they did last time, which was just to give us the titles of the sections that we're talking about. The voter not knowing what it used to look like or what it really looks like in full now, which is really pathetic, I think.
Well, we may have to look at that
Well,
at the
yeah,
end, but let's,
The statute also has another section to it that Ann's not enumerating, which says that if the changes are so onerous that you can present it as one new document and you have the old document standing to the side for reference purposes.
because we don't know that right now.
Yeah, we're not
Make that
prepared
decision
yet.
at the end, okay.
but thank you.
So this
for
is
those.
our group's final version. Now, how do we address it to the
So,
people?
yeah.
That'll be the end, at the end.
All right, can we adjourn this meeting?
Okay, all you have to do is ask.
Okay,
Make a
so do we
motion.
have a motion to adjourn at 10:45? Do we have to do that
I
for all
don't think we
this?
need motion.
I'm not sure.
Well, we'll do it anyway.
Okay,
just in
well-
case. Doesn't need a vote.
Doesn't need a
So-
vote, but
We're
we're
done.
adjourning at 10:45.
You
Ooh, we
guys,
got a lot done.
You guys have a couple of days.
Okay, see you all on Wednesday.